Today we have Irene Zhang with us, who's going to talk about how to fast track success and break barriers and stand out, something that she's been doing throughout her career. And Irene is currently the director of product marketing at Juniper Networks. One of the things that we're going to talk about, you'll see that she's gotten 5 promotions in 6.5 years and has been incredibly deliberate. It wasn't by chance. So welcome, Irene. I'm so happy that you're here joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start there. You've had 5 promotions in 6.5 years. This is something that we all want. How did you do it? What was the secret?
So as someone growing up in China, I'm always competitive. I always have high standard toward myself. And part of it is also getting certain peer pressure that I don't want to be behind my peers in some way compared to. And so when I joined the workplace in the US after I graduated from Dartmouth, that I have that ambition, right, from the very beginning that I want to grow my career as fast as I can. And throughout the years, it's not that I strategically planned that I would have these 5 promotions in 6 years and a half. I love that, but and I push for that, but it's not like I have a strategic roadmap that I know exactly when it will happen. But there are things that I tried and also learned and it worked well that I'm happy to share. First of all, that I always position myself as someone who is a star performer. So of course I got to deliver. And it's not only about doing, which I know many women do really well and deliver. And what I see is missing oftentimes is also be deliberate, like you said, be deliberate on how you position yourself that you are a star performer. So marketing is my day job, and I apply that. I believe everybody should be a marketer of themselves, right? Consider who we are, what we bring to the table as a product, right? Who are our target customers and what's our value proposition? So when you want to have a fast track record of promotion, that means that you are not being treated as average. You have to be seen as exceptional, that the management would give you exception for the promotions. And so working backward, how can I be seen as someone who's exceptional? And so that would mean that I always go above and beyond. I deliver, but not only I do what my manager asked me to do, but also I initiate what are the opportunities I see that can help the business grow. And then when I see there's empty space where, oh, somebody should do that. And then I realize that is this great for the company business, but then nobody's doing it. Instead of complaining, somebody should do it. And I ask, why can I be the one to take the initiative? And so that served 2 purposes. One is I genuinely interested in taking initiative and solve a problem. And 2 is that also signal to my management that I'm not just someone who do what they say, but actually have leadership qualities. When you think about leadership, is something that you see a problem, you propose a solution, and you bring team together and tackle it. Not every time that you'll be succeed. However, the act of taking initiative, that itself have served really well because people would notice. And by the way, a small tip is when you initiate that, people have really low expectation because they did not ask you to. And so it's relatively easy to exceed the expectation.
I like that, exceed expectations, because expectations are not there in the beginning. That's an interesting point. So when you do tackle these initiatives, you have an example of maybe something that you've done where you saw a problem and you did talk about it and then you did embrace and solve it and show your leadership exceptional skills through it?
Yeah. So for example, there's a couple of years ago that I was a junior product marketing manager for a certain product line at a company. And at the same time, I was looking at the industry that everybody talk about Internet of Things. And I was like, why does nobody in the company talk about the thought leadership and how our overall company solution can be relevant in that space? And I thought that is something missing. And so I took the initiative, talk to different product teams. The complexity is because it's not just a single product. No single product was built for that purpose. So you got to actually learn different products and pull it together as a point of view, as a story. Now that in itself is a full-time job actually, but I just thought I am passionate about it. I share with my manager, I would do my day job. Don't worry, I will still take care of the product. And then I use my, let's say as a evening or weekend sometimes to as like a side gig or side project as a passion project. And so for any manager, as long as your people do what you ask them to do and deliver, then whatever extra that they do, of course, is considered it's growth opportunity for them as long as they don't burn out or impact performance. And so for me, I just doing it, keep doing it. And even do crowdfunding at the company that, hey, there's an opportunity of event and I do not have any budget for sponsoring, for the company to sponsor the event. So I start like reaching out to different teams and see if anybody interested to see that for themselves, that it would be good for those products and those sales teams. And then I engage everybody, and very quickly, within 3 days, I raised $50K to fund the sponsorship for the event. And that is totally outside of my day job. Like I'm not supposed to, I don't need to, but I just did it. And then I engaged with our executive to be speakers at the event, because sponsors to just sign a contract, but you got to have people, speakers, and presentation. So I engage with executive for speakers, and I craft the presentation for them to present. And then, because I thought that was the right thing to do, I didn't think about too much about how this would help my career, to be honest. So whenever I take initiative, I didn't start with what's in it for me. I start by what is the right thing that I should do for the benefit of the company or customers. And then during the event, I got a call from my VP and said, hey, Irene, do you want to be the lead for for taking in charge of our IoT marketing? And I was like, oh, sure, I'm already doing it. So basically my quote unquote 9 job become a day job. And in fact, afterward, I got recognized by the company with receiving the CEO Excellence Award.
Oh, wow. So it's interesting because you took initiative, you led something, like you said, you showed your leadership skills through it. That night job, which you did quite well, also brought you a lot of visibility because you were talking to these executives in the company. So you were making yourself known, even though maybe that wasn't your initial intention.
Yeah.
You were doing something high profile for yourself. And that helped get you on the radar, because often a lot of people, and a lot of women as well, do a lot of helping out in the back office functions that are not very visible. But that was not your example.
Yeah.
Nowadays, when you look for initiatives, do you consider visibility?
Of course. That is something that I guess my experience prior to I joined corporate America, like prior to that, I spent 3 years in global NGO and worked my way up from member to director. And that in itself, what I got to know is that it got me a perspective of what it's like for management to think about. So it become very easy and intuitive for me to know what kind of projects are considered strategic and high visibility, and what kind of projects are good view and helper. And there are things that I do contribute and support and volunteer. I do that. It's not that I avoid doing it, but I know when I raise my hand to say I help, I know which projects are actually strategic for career and which one is, I know that it probably gets some appreciation, but will that help performance review? Will it help for promotion discussion? Probably not. So I know the nature of those projects. And that is something that I think very important for women to do. And it's okay to volunteer. It's great. It's great to engage community. The difference is it will be not a great idea if you think, I volunteer so many things, but then I got passed over for the promotion and I don't know why. You said, like, people said people should go above and beyond, and many people do raise their hand for many projects, but then they don't know whether that is something could help for their visibility or how it changed the perception of others. We talk about how you want to build a reputation and perception that others see you as a leader, that others see you as a star performer. And then you got to see that, okay, what kind of projects, if you do that, what kind of impression that people have is that, oh, she's very sweet, like she helped bring the food to the table and help organize. That's great. Depending on the job role, right, the next promotion that you're working on, is that the most important qualities? If it's yes, great. If it's not, then okay, consider some other things.
Oh yeah, I hated being called nice. She's so nice. First
Sweet.
nightmare. Sweet.
It's nice is something I personally, I think I value people who are kind, because when you are kind, you don't expect anything. You are genuinely interested in helping others. Being nice, in my opinion, is people are wearing a mask to mask that there's expectation that if I'm nice to you, then you're going to be nice to me, or like that. There's expectation behind usually.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. The way I see it is nice people avoid the hard conversations.
Exactly. That is where like the mask or the wall that they put behind, that they can feel safe about it. But actually humans are incredibly intuitive, that you can articulate why, but then you can sense something, right? Whether someone is genuinely kind or someone just pretend to be nice. Most people actually have the intuition. You just get the vibe that you can sense that, especially women. Actually, women are really good at that intuition, to sensing that. And the other thing is also when you do volunteer for something, that the leaders would see that and it's nothing wrong, but then if you are actually taking initiative, thinking that's the right thing and do it instead of out of self-interest, like whether someone do something out of self-interest, it's very easy to tell. Like you can sense that.
Although almost everyone that I've seen men get ahead, they act out of self-interest.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. Nobody sees there's anything wrong with
No,
that.
there's nothing wrong. It's just be mindful of it. And in fact, you're right. I think women in some way that out of the consideration and concern that they don't want to be seen as selfish or self-interest, that at some point we even avoid doing it, that they know is going to be good for them. But then if they can't find a reason that how it's going to be beneficial for others, then I know that many women will hesitate to do it.
That's true. I agree with that. And so looking at these opportunities strategically, knowing when to volunteer, that's really going to build that brand. You said it's, there are a couple of things that you can do. In the example that you gave, you got a lot of visibility with senior stakeholders who were decision makers around your career, right? So you built relationships with those people. How else can you identify a strategic initiative that's worthwhile pursuing? How do you do that?
So first, volunteers are great, but I'm more in favor of when you are the one initiate something and then enroll other volunteers to the project, to your team. So when you volunteer, you are a helper. When you are initiate, that you are a leader, right?
But when you're initiating, what kind of projects should you be looking to initiate? What are strategic in the eyes of the key decision makers?
That really depends on different industry, different company, different department. But generally, rule of thumb is that can you build a business case for it, right? Can you articulate why the company should care? Why this would help, whether it is that improve the top line, improve the customer awareness perception about the company, or is it a specific revenue opportunity, or is it going to save costs, improve efficiency? What is it that can impact the business in a good way? And if you can't, and ideally you should be able to quantify it, but if you can't, at least articulate like qualitatively. But if you said, I think it just would be nice to do, and then you swing around about still don't know exactly how it could benefit the company, then it's a red flag that, okay, is that really helpful? And also another tips is really fully understand the company strategy and the strategic priorities, right? And that is something your leaders, your VP should share, right? That you should know for your department, to your company, what are the things for this year, for this quarter, that it's trying to achieve, what's the top objective, how it's going to be measured. And if your initiative can align to those objectives, top line objective, guarantee that is by nature strategic.
Okay, so I love that. So in your example, how did you come up with the idea for the initiative?
You got to be observant, because like that is not something that others already identify and tell you to do, right? So you got to be observant about noticing where something is broken, where something that it should have, if the process, or it should be like there's opportunity that we should go after that market, or identify where certain gap that you see could improve. And I can't tell you exactly which, because I don't know each person's like company and the team, but you got to, as you observe, then you will identify certain pain point or opportunity. And from there, you start like speculating what are some of the ways to ideate. And you can do it like start like idea by yourself, or you have a network of people you connect at the company, right? And chat about it and see like when you observe something and then you talk to a few people to validate, is there a real issue or a real opportunity? And then when you sense a few people that, oh yeah, like they agree, like this is something that they wish, usually a good thing, they wish somebody do something about it. Okay, that usually is a good sign that they like people will agree. Now, when somebody should do something about it, that is it a complaint of maybe, but is it also if somebody do it, it will be good for the company? Yes, no. If yes, then what does it take for this somebody to do? Is there time? Is there budget? Is that like what is needed? Can you be that somebody? Because there's no one's name is called somebody in the company, right? So that's where be a problem solver and see that. And once you have some idea, work with people in your ally, in your even with your mentor, if you have mentors, to talk about this idea.
So I love those thoughts on how to identify your ideas. But going back to your example,
Yeah.
you said you were looking at the Internet of Things at the time.
Yeah.
There's this buzzword happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you looked internally, but were you like reading about the marketplace?
Yes, I spent a lot of time doing market research, and that is something that I'm good at and I'm naturally interested in. So of course, as I study the market, study different competitor, what they are doing, that I can start noticing the industry buzzword and trend and marketing opportunity. And then we see that, okay, like why are we not doing it? And then question is, why not? Why not? Then I'll just be the person to lead.
Yes. All right. So in your case, you were already looking at market opportunities, because for me back in the day, when I was in corporate life, I used to like to read Harvard Business Review a lot.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of my ideas from there or from conferences.
Yeah.
So that's what, or from talking to executives or more senior people, like you said, who would talk about problems.
Yes.
Like you were mentioning.
Yeah.
I like that.
Totally. It's, I think, going back to being exceptional, right? Like position yourself as someone who's a star performer. Then if you want to continue to have ideas, then you got to have the source of different source of inspiration, right? If all you do is same with everybody on your team, that you get the order from your manager and do it, and then you stare at the screen for just checking emails and do it, how do you have those sorts of new ideas coming? I like what you said, reading Harvard Business Review and then attending conference and talking to others, you get different ideas, different inspiration. And then as you get a different information, then that's how like innovation happen. That it's not that an apple just dropped to your head and then you have, aha, I have this idea. Usually come from continue different informations, and then you also understand the business and then speculate, and some ideas just grow.
Yeah, they go in that way organically, because it seems like what you're looking for are not just any ideas. You're looking for strategic, good ideas that have a great business case that can be measured and can be done by you. That's a lot of criteria.
Yeah, because first of all, when I choose to initiate certain projects, there's no guarantee that this would help my career. So I never try to do something that is, okay, I will put this on my resume and make me look good. Like first and foremost, I want to tackle a problem that I am genuinely interested in. And it's fortunate that I happen to only interested in tackle problem that actually make a difference. And it's a problem or a solution that can move the needle for the business. So that is something, it's natural for me to choose project that would do that. Like for some others that, okay, let's say this template, for example, I'm making another example. Oh, for this template for like a business review, you know what? It's not as pretty. I can make it prettier. Is that going to make a big difference to the business? Maybe, most likely, maybe not. Not that I won't volunteer. If I have some bandwidth, I don't mind helping. But I know that those are not strategic projects. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, typically what I've seen a lot of people get engaged and initiate are more reports, more and more reports and reports. And it's not always that helpful or that strategic or making things prettier either.
Yeah.
So just doing that, was that enough? Or did you actually seek out more proactively the promotions? Did you talk about it?
Of course. So think about a process, right? So first, you position yourself as someone who is exceptional, as a star performer. And then you deliver, right? You initiate, and then you actually you can't just say, hey, Ifna, I'm a star performer. Okay, so what have you done? Like, you want to see a proof point because everybody can say, but then it doesn't mean anything. You got to actually have something to back you up. Those experience, those projects are something that really back you up. And then you will want to understand a little bit more how I did it, how I initiate. So you start saying, okay, she meant what she said. Like she is real in that sense. And then who should know? Who should know that my interest and my accomplishment, the stakeholders who have a say and influence in the promotion decision? Do I have relationship with them? Do they know me? And so that's the relationship building. And that include first, of course, like I need to let my manager know that I am interested in getting to the next promotion. And even I will openly say, like, from if I just got this role and then to the next, it may take some time. But what do you think does it take for me to demonstrate for you to see that I'm ready for the next role? Not that I will take it literally, just that as a list, but it's good to know what's in their mind. And then don't stop at just your direct manager. Make sure you communicate your interest to at least another level above vertically. It could be a VP, it could be your executive, depending on the org chart that you're in. And then also, as you build relationship, to try to seek out for cross-functional assignment, work with other teams. The other thing that I see people often missing is the relationship diagonally. So do your manager's peers note you when you're not in the room? When they talk about people, will they say good things about you? Or will say, I don't know, I never worked with this person, I don't know. Or if even worse, you try to avoid the negative perception, right? You want to manage them. And also same thing that your VP's peers. So say after you get to mid-level to try to go for senior level position, that is no longer just your manager's approval and done, right? As you got more senior, the decisions is taken up higher up, and is also made after a certain level. It's not just your VP's decision. Let's say there's different department. In a year annual review, everybody probably have someone in their group they really want to push for promotion, right? So everybody will advocate naturally for their group. But then do every group get to promote everybody? Probably not. So there's going to be a discussion in a room that you are not in the room, and you want to have advocate that not just your direct line of report, but also other people to say that, yeah, I work with Ifna, she's great, or my team work with her and I've heard so many good things about her. You want those. And if you think backward, how do you cultivate those relationships? How do you even cultivate like people become your fan, that they want to, like they just naturally want you to be well, want you do well, be good, and be recognized? When you're able to cultivate those relationships, you are unstoppable.
So that's one more criteria for initiatives is look for cross-functional.
It doesn't, in that way, it's not just an initiative, right? Like sometimes you just work, there are your day job that many people have day job that work with other teams. So be mindful of how you come across to others. And then also is that, oh, we got on the same call, but you need something, I send you something. Okay, that's not bad. You deliver. But if you actually take the time to get to know them, maybe say, oh, can we get a one-on-one like tea time, coffee time, just get to know each other, and also personal or and professional, what they are working on, be interested in what they are working on, and then maybe even have some ideas. Oh yeah, I know so and so that can help you, or I have this project that maybe some information that you may find helpful. That to build relationship first, like what you bring value, and not be transactional, but you just generally want to help others. And not that you expect others to have to say good things about you, but generally people reciprocate. right? When you are, oh yeah, she's so kind that she offered to help me this and this. And so I would just naturally, when somebody like, oh, what do you think about Irene? Like, oh, she's great. Like she's helpful. Like you would naturally say good things about me. Not that I expect you, but generally people reciprocate.
Yes. Yes. When you said you cultivate these relationships, even with your bosses or your boss's peers, it's not just showing and doing good work, but it's actually cultivating. For them to be your fan, you have to cultivate beyond that. There's a likability factor, a trust factor. So it's just getting to know each other and getting to know them and being interested in them as people and as
Of course,
professionals.
absolutely. So imagine if you're on the other side, that whenever in a room that you say something good about others, you are putting your credibility on the line. So it's not that you're being stingy, but you want to make sure that you actually know the person that is trustworthy, know that the person is someone who others can depend on. And also know that there are a few things that you can quote on the accomplishment that she did. And so let's say you don't manage that person, but then you got to know her because of some projects or your team of people work with them, you heard about things. And so when your boss said, oh, Ifna, so what exactly did Irene did, right? At least you have a few things you can say about it. Like, oh, you said she's good, but then you have nothing to back it up. That's not good. So it's the communicate on, okay, I communicate with you. I got to know you, you got to know me. And then you got to know that, oh, like I just did this initiative that is so cool. That is that, oh yeah, that really is that you can see value and characters and leadership qualities that I bring. So it's all about building relationship, be known, and make it easy for others to advocate for you.
And make it easier for others to advocate for you. I think that's a key.
Yeah.
Make it easy. Give them what they need to advocate for you.
And especially the same thing with managers. Like a lot of people would say, I tell my manager I want promotion. Okay. Did you know that for manager to put you through promotion, how much paperwork and things that he or she needs to do, right? The manager may not already ask you, can you help me like provide it? And actually it's not as easy, especially if they manage a team of 5, 6, 10 people. Make it easy for them to build a case for you, right? Like you are actually like an ally in a team in that.
Yeah, make it easy. And again, they're not going to advocate for every single person in the team at the same time. So
yeah,
the easier you make it, the more likely they are to advocate for you versus others in that moment. And so going back to that, so you're all about, you said at the beginning, you said that you try to position your brand as exceptional so that leaders can make exceptions for you.
Right.
Regarding the opportunities going forward, even the promotions, even pay. Do you feel comfortable standing out?
Stand out to me, I guess that's where, since I grow up, that I happen to always be the top student in my class. And then after a while, I work on it to stay on top of my class. So it's in my nature that I want to stand out. I don't want to be seen as average. I think the ambitions and driven, that is in my DNA. The thing that I see take courage is not the desire to stand out, but how to stand out genuinely without showing off. That I don't want to come across as cocky. There's a fine line. And what I also learned, because I come from China and I was born and raised there, that there's culture of being humble. Don't talk about yourself. And when I come to the United States, that in the corporate America culture is, whether I like the word or not, the self-promotion is something that it is important for people to see you. And the whole notion of speaking up in meetings, right? That if you keep quiet, that it might negatively impact how others see you, your leadership potential, your communication skills. And throughout the years that I learned that those two words, your leadership potential, your communication skills, are crucial in evaluating whether someone is ready for the next level.
Interesting. So leadership potential and communication skills are two keywords that you're looking to stand out in a way that doesn't feel cocky.
Yeah, the communication skill in itself is depending on your job role, right? But the leadership potential is absolutely right? It's by default, especially if you want to take leadership role, like after individual contributor, after a while, that is something. And you can be a leader even without managing people. There are different qualities about what it's like to be a leader. That quality, it happened in America that how someone, you see someone as a leader in different culture, there's like a different ideal that how you expect a leader to look and sound like. And in China, that a leader doesn't have to be someone who's so talkative, who is like that and always be the fun. There's certain things that is different from Asian culture and US culture. But here, at least from my observation, it seems like it's expected that someone in the room that have the charisma, that will speak up. Like you would not see someone, you would not consider someone as a leader if he or she never even say a word during a meeting. Doesn't need to be saying it all the time. That probably is not, there's a fine line and a fine balance, but you want to hear someone being assertive. So I love your podcast title. And I see sometimes, including myself, when I look at other people, whether they're ready or not. And that's actually especially true with women, that they may not come across as someone who's assertive. And I can tell you that does hurt their evaluation.
Yeah, and you're right. The Speak Your Mind Unapologetically podcast is all about cultivating assertiveness in a way that's not cocky.
Yeah.
That feels right. And this is great that you mentioned it, because I was actually going to ask you, what does leadership look like? Because, or what you've seen leadership actually looks like. What are the qualities that they're looking for to promote? Because it's different. Everybody has a different perception of leadership. And a lot of women in particular are looking to be servant leaders, which is
that's great.
It's great. I love it. But at the same time, it's important to understand what's being looked for, what people are looking for in order to grow or invest in someone to move up the corporate ladder. And again, it depends on the
company and culture, right? But I think one of my mentors said it very well. If you want to be a leader, do you have followers? Now, not saying in social media or anything that kind of followers, and not saying that whether you have someone on your team report to you. Now, that's helpful if you are already a people manager, but it's more like how you show up, that your presence, how you carry yourself. And also, let's say that if someone in a company, that there are people that are considered as leaders, regardless of their title, do they have a vision for a particular project? Do they have a vision? Do they can bring the team together that can achieve a bigger goal that everybody can accomplish, right? So I would know at least, okay, what kind of people that I want to work with them, that I don't mind, like I don't have to always be the leader per se, like for every project. But then everyone have, just be honest, right? Everyone have a set of criteria there, who you want to follow for a particular project, regardless of who you report. And then if you think about it, why do I want to follow that person? Maybe that he or she is very visionary. They have something that, or maybe that they are very caring. That's something that you just feel like, I want to work for them. Like even for free. There are people like that. And so depending on, it can be from thought leadership, it can be relationship building, it could be other things, right? But then there are certain qualities that you got to have to appeal to others, that people want to follow you. And that's where self-awareness is so important, because I don't think there's like only one type of leader, right? You want to discover what's your strengths, and what's the strengths that you can build, that you can, if there are a team of people to follow you, that you can lead them to win. So identify what you're good at, what you naturally, effortlessly do so well in. That is very important for self-awareness. And of course, in addition to that, then how you show up, that the presence, like people talk about executive presence, how you stand up, how you show up, the first impression, and how you communicate. I remember when I was in my early career, I watched so many videos about how to, and got aware that women have a tendency to have the tone to be like, end with the sentence with a question mark, or have the pitch to be a little high. And I actually intentionally would lower my voice to sound more certain and sound more assertive. I do practice that as much as I can. and be mindful about when I say something, do I end with a period or do I end with a question mark? Yeah. So those are the little things that here and there that become mindful, believe that for anything, everybody have a natural tendency. First is be aware of it, and then learn about what you can adapt. It's not that there's anything wrong, but then in different contexts, that certain communication style could be more effective. And when you're able to adapt it, then you are more effective, right? It could be that you're naturally a people person. And when you build relationship with some executive that they are very number driven, don't chit chat with them, right? Get to the point and go. And then with some that if you only present the numbers and ROI, but then, okay. But then you feel there's no relationship. There are certain people that do prefer tell me what's going on with your life and show me that you care. So sometimes using tools like the Gallup Strengths Finder, the Myers-Briggs, like the different tools that is helpful to identify the people's preference, not to put anybody in a box. It's just learning that everybody have a little bit preference. First, learn about yourself, and then the next level is when you're able to adapt yourself to others on what will be most effective, then you will go a long way.
Yeah, no, I think those are great tips. I took those little assessments as well, and it's fun and it's great to do it with the team and see how everybody is different and how to leverage that in the best way possible. And one of the things that you shared when we talked was around this idea of standing out was with the interns, how you were surprised how they were shying away from standing out. So I'd love to hear that story from you again, because I thought it was such a great story.
Yeah. So almost for the last 3 years, I got asked to be a guest speakers to talk to our interns, sharing my experience. And every time I share the advice that reach out to people and build relationship. And what I found interesting and surprising is however I encourage them. So let's say every time the session had around 40 to 50 interns in the meeting, whether it's in person or over Zoom. And then what's surprising is every time there are only 2 to 3 people will reach out and reach out, send me. Actually, maybe 2 of them will actually set up a one-on-one with me to follow up. And maybe another person will say a thank you, no, appreciate what I share. And if you think about that ratio, oh, wow, 2 or 3 out of 50, who do you think that I will remember? And the kind of thing is that it doesn't take that much. It doesn't take that much to send a thank you note. It doesn't take that much to send a thank you note and say, would you have time to meet for a 15-minute coffee or 30-minute one-on-one? All it takes is courage. And so many people stop by, there are so many people, like, she probably would not respond to me, or she's busy. Like, why would she come back and respond? So many people might stop by the idea about either competition or fear of rejection, and then they stop, right? And for those that do not have that or get over that fear and reach out, they automatically stand out.
Yeah. And I thought that was a brilliant example, because I was definitely one of those 48 people early in my career who did not reach out.
Like, as an introvert, it's I am honest. I hate networking. I hate networking events. You can vividly imagine, in those networking events, people have cocktails and then, like people mingling and so happy. You can imagine someone awkward. Okay, go, maybe grab a drink, look around. Okay, I feel uncomfortable here. I probably should go home. Yeah, that was me for a long time. And I would consider myself socially awkward in some way, but now I get over a little bit and came to the point where, you know what? If I get to know one person that really have a good vibe that I consider, whether it's friendship or other business opportunity, it will be way worthwhile. Or even just get to know someone that you consider genuine. I consider that I'm not here to get to know 20 people in an event. Some people are good at that. I'm not. But as an introvert, I know myself, what I am comfortable and also what I find meaningful and what I'm good at. So for those introverts that don't like networking, you know that you actually have a superpower. The superpower is follow up and follow through. You may not be super good at initial mingling with many people. What for most networking, the hardest thing and the success factor is actually after the event, that whether you send a note and follow up, send a one-on-one, send out something to nurture that relationship. That is something takes consistent action. And being an introvert, I know that for most introverts, actually one-on-one is not scary. It's the group setting, the bigger scale than more than 2 people, that is where you feel uncomfortable, right? But then the one-on-one, once you get that, you feel at ease, right? And so many people, just like I said, that 2 or 3 out of 50 would actually do that. Once you get over that fear, then you have the strength to build a deep relationship with those people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I like that tip, and the follow up and follow through. That's this. Never heard it said that way, but that's a superpower, especially if you're the organized kind of person, right? And you can organize yourself. A lot of extroverts just want that adrenaline of the moment of getting to talk to a lot of people, but they're not great at sitting down quietly at their desk later and doing the follow up because it's not as fun.
Yeah. And everybody can develop and be good at it. It just, some are naturally more effortless, just naturally better at something. So like the left hand, right hand, the extrovert would finally need to get better at organize and follow up and follow through, but they're really good at the initial contact. And then for introvert, that they need to develop how to get more at ease and comfortable and brave to do the initial meetup. But then they are relatively good at the one-on-one follow up and follow through. So it's really the left hand, right hand. Like you can be really good at both. It's just one need to be developed and more intentional compared to the others.
And is that something that you struggled with as a woman, as an Asian, pretty young in the environments that you're in, someone who's introverted? Where was your struggle to speak up, and how did you overcome that personally?
Yeah, right now I feel relatively comfortable speaking up, but in my, let's say in my 20s and after graduate school and joined the workforce in corporate America for my first 2-3 years, I struggle. I felt comfortable in one-on-one. My manager know me well. And then even if you're a CEO, I'm fine having one-on-one, but I struggle speaking up in meetings, not to mention even large setting, right? And I knew at the time that, gosh, if I just don't speak up, then my career is pretty much like doom, because I know that it will impact how others perceive me. But at the time, I thought maybe it's my language, that English is not my first language. And there's the justification that I need to think it through before I say something. Now, that does come from my cultural background, that growing up in, I don't know about the American school education system here, but in some way I get a little sense when I attend grad school here. But in my culture growing up, imagine a class, most kids would not raise their hand. I want to speak on screen. When the teacher asks a question, you better actually know the answer when you raise your hand. Otherwise, you embarrass yourself. So when bringing it to here, in most cases, when people have some question, unless you're already a subject matter expert, but that's not the case, usually when you're starting out your career, right? And then most people will want to preserve to make sure they don't look dumb. And that's exactly what happened to me, that I don't want people to know that I don't know what, like there's certain technical knowledge that I don't know. I didn't come from a technical background. And I want to preserve that. I want others to see me as someone who's intelligent. So I got to be thoughtful, and being thoughtful and strategic is something that I'm proud of. And that's all great, except that, are you going to speak a word? If you feel like I'm not ready, and then you continue to be quiet, that actually hurt you more, right? And then when I was attending some personal and professional workshop, and I discovered that, holy shit, that is not my language. That is actually like my thought and concern and worry about how others perceive me, that got me to not fully self-expressed. And that's where the real root cause of me not being able to speak up. And then once I discovered that blind spot and changed my mindset, that when I speak up, it's not about me, it's about people. In meetings, if I have a question, first I thought, okay, would I waste everybody's time if I ask this question, right? Is that a dumb question? Now the mindset is that if I have this question, good chance that others have that question. And if I ask that question, it's in the service of others, that I choose to be courageous, to serve others, to say it out loud. That for those that may be a little bit more intimidated, that they don't ask that question, I can ask that, right, for them. And with that, when you're letting go of yourself, when you're letting go of how others perceive you because you want to serve others, you want to help others, you automatically become a leader. You become bigger than yourself. And then you will automatically be more courageous. And an example is that when I just started my new role as a product marketing manager, I have a responsibility that every month I deliver a sales training for those new hires, new sales hires. Even for new sales hire, that doesn't mean that they are junior. They could be just coming from other company. And most people have 10, 15 years of industry experience. And back then me, I have 2-3 years of experience. And I was so worried about, what do I know that they don't? Like, who am I? Like, and I was so dreadful in going to those meetings and do presentation. And so worried about they find out that what if there are questions that I can't answer. And then once I changed my mindset that I'm there because I might know a few things about the product that I spend time on while they focus on sales or customer relationship, right? I happen to maybe know a few things that they don't know, and I'm here to help them get up to speed faster. And if they have questions that I can't answer, that's okay. Then I just help them connect to the right people, right resources to solve it. It's not about them evaluating me, like, am I smart? Am I intelligent? Am I the expert? I'm there to help. And for the first time, when I changed the mindset, that I no longer feel dreadful and fearful when I enter the room, for the first time, I felt I own the room and comfortable to speak up, that I don't have to memorize all the notes on what am I going to say. I just share it freely and self-express. And the next day when I went to a conference, I was in LA or somewhere, and there were in that breakout room, there have 200 people in a room, and it's some industry analysts on the panel. And I have some questions, or just walk up to the mic and ask. And that would not happen to me, or I would not feel comfortable to do it in the past. But because I thought that if I have these questions that others probably do also have, so I choose to be courageous, choose to be brave in the spirit of serving others. And then I just say and ask the question. That's all.
Wow, love that to end our conversation. It's all about finding the courage to speak up and own the room, because you know that reframing your mindset to show, to really understand and hone that thought of, I'm actually serving other people by speaking up. Love that. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed our conversation today. I'm sure the audience, the listeners, are leaving with tons of new thoughts and tips on how to speak up and stand out and take initiative, all for the right reasons. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.